Live. Welcome to the smooth sounds of Trigger Smart. Oh, baby. Yeah, that's right. Come a little closer now. Let me whisper this in your ear with those silky saxophones that weave their magic. Tonight, while we're turning up the this podcast, letting it fly over this room at warm velvet. So relax, put the music in the pocket, and we'll handle the podcast. Hey everyone, how's it going? Let's see. So this is the new setup. This is it's still a work in progress, but I have my guest here, Aaron, and we'll get to the intro here in a second. We'll give people a chance to come in, and everything is kind of automated. So you see both of us here now, and then when he talks, it goes to him, goes to me. We have multiple different cameras and stuff. I know a lot of you guys have asked about this setup. So what I'll probably do is an official like behind the scenes at some point. But today what we're covering is women's safety on dates, self-defense, situational awareness. I mean, even getting into like applications and things that are probably a good idea to use and have. So let's go ahead and make sure we're live on Rumble. It's always good to check. You grumblers over there. And let me know if there's any audio issues. Let me know if there's any, yeah, we're good on Grumble. So let me know if there's any issues you guys are having with audio or video or anything like that. This is the first official podcast, but from what I see, everything looks like it's good. Check the comments. So they said, Aaron, and they're waving. That's Kimberly. She's one of my moderators.
Well, hi, Kimberly. Nice to meet you.
Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Let's see. New set looks awesome, Matt. Thanks. Sounds good. Good. Sounds great. Awesome. All right. So what we'll do is I'll introduce Aaron and then we'll get into it. This is really important. This is not just for women. Obviously, women are the main focus because they're usually more vulnerable, but we're going to get into why this applies to everyone. So let's get officially started. Welcome, everyone. Today's guest is Aaron Cerrone, owner and head coach of Mid-America Martial Arts. Aaron has trained in and teaches multiple disciplines, including Muay Thai, Jeet Kune Do, Judo, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Filipino weapon arts. He's also a military veteran, a Lean Six Sigma black belt, and a professional nutritionist and personal trainer. Over the course of his career, he's taught multiple self-defense workshops and worked with military security and law enforcement. Thanks for stopping by, Aaron.
Thanks for having me, man.
Now, let's move this a little bit closer.
All right.
I think we'll be good there. Make sure you let me know if you can't hear him at any point. But yeah, just let's start off first with your background, just in general, just teaching.
Well, first of all, I can't get over that intro that you did. I'm personally a little creeped out.
Yeah, baby.
And worried about my safe space bubble at the moment after hearing that.
Well, I had to be careful how far do I go with it because there's too many.
I want to know how cringeworthy that was on the other end of the people hearing it.
I hope so.
Please put that in the comments. I'd like to see that.
I hope they at least got a laugh. That's what I was going for. All right. So yeah, so obviously you have a lot of martial arts background and teaching background. Mm-hmm. Can you give us like an example or just some situations that you've had to teach that actually paid off doing self-defense for women?
Well, I guess the important thing to begin with is when I do workshops, and I get asked to do workshops all the time, and the struggle for me as somebody teaching that is women want to learn, or just not just anybody in general wants to learn self-defense. And I'll tell people, I can't teach you self-defense. And I'll get like looks like, well, then what are we doing here? And my point in that is that I don't know what's going to happen to you out there. So for me to be able to say, I'm going to teach you to defend yourself in a 1-hour workshop is really, I mean, it's a marketing scam, to be honest. And I don't like to say that to the women out there. Please go out and do those workshops and go out and learn some tools and tricks to defend yourself. But no, for somebody to say they're going to walk out of a workshop, I know how to defend myself. You're really fooling yourself, to be honest, because we could spend an entire hour, for example, on how to stop somebody from choking you, right? But then they show up with a bat.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, now what? Or they surprise you. And I think one of the things that we forget is in a real self-defense situation, like a real self-defense situation, it's generally there's surprise, there's adrenaline, there's fear. Okay. And you didn't see it coming more often than not.
It might be more than one person.
And there might be more. And it's very, very hard to deal with. And for somebody like me trying to teach a group of women or a person to defend themselves, it's nearly impossible. And I've always felt like I'm lying to people when I say, hey, I'm here teaching you to defend yourself.
Yeah.
So I always say, hey, look, we're here to work on some tools, to talk about some things to consider so that when you leave here, you can keep yourself safer, right, at the end of the day. But all the skills that you could possibly learn in a self-defense work, they're all perishable skills. So for somebody to leave a workshop, and I'm like poo-pooing all the self-defense workshops, I don't mean to do that, but if you just think about it from a practical sense, for you to walk out of a workshop thinking you have mastered those skills, you think you could execute them after only doing them for an hour, and that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life.
And a lot of people never again.
It's next to impossible. They never touch it again. It'd be like you teaching somebody to shoot and them thinking after a half-hour session with you, now I know how to shoot. It's like, no, you know how to, you know how to, but that doesn't mean you can.
Yeah.
Right. Or you've got the reps to be able to do it. So when I tell people, if you really want to learn to defend yourself, find a martial art that you like and do it consistently. And build those repetition, those habits, and those skill sets that you have a better chance of executing it without thinking of it because it's muscle memory at that point. And when the proverbial shit hits the fan, you're not going, oh, what was that thing again? And then, what are the words I'm supposed to say? Yeah. And then, and then you're on the wrong end of it. So, I'm very careful when I do self-defense workshops and what I say I'm teaching women or teaching people attending it. And I'm not really teaching you to defend yourself. I'm giving you some skills and some tips to stay safer out there and to be more aware of what's going on around you and hopefully avoid the situation altogether.
Which is always the number one, right?
100%. And it's so funny that, when you think like, who are the baddest of the baddest, right? It's Navy SEALs, Rangers, and all of them. But even the elite warfighters of our country, intel is the most crucial thing that they have in their back pocket. There's nothing more dangerous than when an elite group of operators go into a situation on bad intel or misinformation, or they don't have the full picture. Right? It's not like we just drop these guys off in the middle of nowhere and say, hey, go do your thing. And then, so there's a lot of intel that goes into it. And a lot of the success of the operations is because of intel going in. So the awareness piece, right? What's the carryover to self-defense and keeping safe is awareness, understanding where you are, who's around you.
Now, so obviously I've trained martial arts with you before. My kids have trained there before, but a lot of people who don't train martial arts, it's still equally important to have situational awareness and be able to.
Well, 100%. Like you said, that'll keep you out of trouble more often than not. Like you hate to say it, and obviously I'm already going to touch on a touchy subject. It's, when you hear of somebody getting raped and then somebody goes, well, she shouldn't have been there. And then arms go flying up and the hackles come up and you should be able to go anywhere you want and be safe. 100%. Nobody's arguing that. We should be able to walk. We should be able to sleep at night with our doors open and our safes unlocked.
Yeah.
But we don't, right? Because we know there are bad people out there. So I go back to, okay, well, don't go to a party around a bunch of strangers, get blackout drunk, not knowing where you are. Now, should we be able to do that? Okay, you could argue you should be able to, right? Like,
that's not the world
hopefully
we live in.
It's not the world we live in, right? And so it's like, let's not put ourselves in a situation where something bad could happen. You can say, well, odds are it won't, and which is probably true. We could all walk at night and odds are nothing bad will happen. Walk by ourselves on a dark trail running at night, which a lot of people do, women do, which I don't advise, by the way.
Because they have a safe neighborhood,
because you have a safe, or you think you have a safe neighborhood until you don't. Until that one predator, that one person goes into that safe neighborhood because they know that
There's vulnerable people.
There's vulnerable people there.
Yeah.
You know, so when I say situational awareness, it's understanding like, where am I at? What's the environment I'm in? Who am I around? What am I doing?
What's
Where
my
am I
goal?
parking?
Yeah.
Like, what's my goal? How drunk am I getting? And so if you're never there in a bad situation, then the odds of bad things happening are greatly reduced. It's just like a Navy SEAL going in. The more intel they have, the better success of that operation being executed.
So what are some of the I'm trying to think of, there's like 5 different things I want to talk about right now, but we'll spread them out. But what are some of the things that people can look for that are obvious situations to avoid?
Well, let's just talk basics, right? Who's around you? Do you know who's around you? Or are you in a house full of strangers?
Yeah.
Like we all did it when we were in college. You go to a house party.
Oh yeah.
You were there with you and maybe 2 other people, and out of the 100 people there, you knew 2.
Yeah.
Right. And then you turn around and your buddies left you, and now you're there by yourself. It's like, okay, now what? Like, so it's like, who's around you? Do I know where I'm at? Do I know how to get out of there? Right. How much do I trust these people that I'm with? Like that, to me, those are the basics.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're out on a first date, how well do I know this person? Am I going to a place that's very public with this person? And do I have a friend checking in on me every half hour to an hour? Or am I going on a hike in the middle of nowhere with this person and I don't have cell phone service? Like, so like what's what's logic and reason say is safest in this situation? So to me, those are the basics, just knowing where you're at and who's around you. One thing I tell women, I ask when we're doing self-defense, and I was like, hey, when you go shopping at night, where do you park? Do you park under a light? Do you park in a dark area?
Or do you park far away to get steps?
Do you park
I hear that a lot.
Do you park far away? Are you parking between cars? When you walk out, do you remember where your car is? We've all done that. You walk out and you go, shit, where did I park? Well, that you're an immediate target for a predator that sees something like that. When you're walking out, do you have your keys in hand, or are you fumbling for your keys as you get up to your car and then you're not paying attention? And the big one is, how many people do you see walking face down in the phone and not paying attention to what's around them?
Yeah.
So to me, those are basics, and a lot of times those will prevent bad situations from happening, because now you can see them coming, you can see people, you can avoid things. You know where your car is. You're in a well-lit area around other people. You're not parking around back in the alley by the dumpster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and obviously depends on where they live, right? And there's certain neighborhoods that are harder than others to have that safety, but especially like women. I know a lot of my female friends growing up, unfortunately, there's pretty high stats that they've either been stalked, or like you said, they've been raped, or whatever it may be, something bad has happened to them. And in many of the situations, it goes back to decisions they made leading up to that point. And that's kind of what I really, that's kind of what you're kind of driving home, is like, you have responsibility in your own safety by the decisions you make up to the point that something happens. Now,
and by that, we don't mean it's their fault.
Correct.
But it added to the scenario that made it happen. 100%. It made it much easier.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and start looking at some of these items here. So this is, I guess we'll call it a checklist of sorts. And I wanted to kind of go through this and talk about some stats. So according to the National Violence Against Women survey, about 18% of women have experienced completed or attempted rape in their lifetime. Many incidents involved known acquaintances, including dates. Additionally, 44% have faced physical assault by an intimate partner. And that's another piece of this too, is it's not always a stranger, right? In a lot of these cases, it's someone that you know very well. It could be someone you've already been dating for a while. And 37% of violent victimizations against women include rape, sexual assault, robbery, and aggravated assault. A lot of times it's in public places and social gathering. So like you were talking about before, like make sure you're in a public place, but depending on the place, especially bars, a lot of people are drunk. No one's really paying attention. Most of the security is at the door. They're not really watching internal to the bar unless there's a fight or something. So women still do have things happen to them in the bars and in the bathrooms and places like that.
And I think that's the point. When you say public places, it's not out in front of 100 people. It's usually they get pulled off around the corner, get pulled into a bathroom stall, get pulled into a back room, or out the back door somewhere where there aren't people looking. So, yes, being in public is not 100% guarantee, but it's also being in public and staying in public. One of the things I always tell people when we do self-defense, if something is going to happen to you, make it happen right there on the spot.
Yeah.
Don't let somebody drag you around the corner, drag you behind a dumpster, drag you into a car, or take you somewhere else. Make it happen, right? Cause a commotion, make it draw attention to the situation where someone might go, hey, that doesn't look quite right over there.
Yeah. And hopefully they don't have people supporting them in that thing.
Well, there is that.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of times it's in bars and clubs, like we said. So, like a restaurant, you're less likely to probably have this happen in a restaurant, sitting out in public, eating at a table, than going to a packed bar where a bunch of people are drunk or on drugs. And then this also affects teens. Like a lot of people, when you talk about this stuff, they're thinking adults on dates, but there's a huge number of, pick an age, 12, 13 years old up through whatever age they go through the same stuff. So this could be at like a little party at their friend's house. This could be a lot of this stuff, unfortunately, happens at like day camps, like Christian camps and stuff. We're finding out there's more and more data that is showing.
I knew you were going to try to slip that in there.
I had to, because it's true. So, it's all levels and all ages. And then women are more likely than men. But we do know that there's a lot of cases where this happens to men too. And men usually don't talk about it. But, this is saying like 4% stalking. I can tell you, if you ask a bunch of women in a poll, it's probably much higher than that. So that seems extremely low to me.
And I think too that you need to understand words have meaning, and definitions of a lot of these things are very important to understand. Like when someone experienced violence, well, what do you mean by that? And I'm not discounting something bad or uncomfortable happened, right? But like, what is the definition of violence? What is the definition of harassment? What is the definition of abuse? And these can be very broad, which can make the statistics be more than what they are. One point I wanted to make is you brought up day camps or people, that's always the hard part, is when you're around people you're comfortable with and you feel you trust, what naturally happens? We let our guard down and we stop paying attention.
And peer pressure, right?
Well, peer pressure as well, but we just stop paying attention to things that normally would alert us if we were around people we may not trust. So that's always the hard part. And that's always, when you hear, oh, well, they knew the person. In my head, I go, well, that makes sense, because you let your guard down and now you get taken advantage of, or that person takes advantage of the situation where it is. And it's nobody's fault. Like, it's not the victim's fault by any stretch. I get it. It's, you let your guard down because you think, okay, I vetted this person. I can bring the alert down a little bit. I can bring the sensors down a little bit, and I can now trust a little bit. And you want to be around people you can trust. I don't want to have to be on high alert all the time.
Well, I started,
especially around family members, right? And people you think and then all of a sudden, so you can't, nothing is infallible, right?
Well, since high school, I completely shifted. I used to have that mentality. Like, I'm with my buddies or I'm with the specific group, I'm safe. And over time, I just, like, my mindset is just like, don't get, like you said, don't get so drunk or under the influence that you can't take care of yourself or pay attention to what's going on. And then I basically, my policy is just trust nobody when it comes to this stuff. I'm not going to trust anyone to drive me home safely or any of that kind of thing. So when I go out, I drink very little, if any at all. And I make sure I'm the transportation for myself. So, obviously it's not the case for everything. If you're in a big party, girls go out in groups of, 6, 7, 8, 10 girls, and they'll take like 2 vehicles and have a crazy night out. But how crazy are you going to get? Are you going to get so crazy that you can't take care of yourself anymore?
Sure. And it's a fine line, right? Everybody likes to cut loose once in a while. Everybody likes to have a few, you're at a wedding and you want to have more than one, a few you want to celebrate. And I get that. And again, when you trust somebody, you are handing a certain level of responsibility to them for you. And, you can get burned sometimes. And I get that. But at the same time, at the end of the day, the only person you're accountable to is yourself. Now, right? You're ultimately responsible for yourself at the end of the day.
Have you had any of the girls that you've trained, whether it's like in self-defense stuff or like your girls that do Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu, have you had any of them be in a situation where they use their training to get out of it?
No, I'll have law enforcement tell me all the time, hey, that thing you showed me came in handy.
Yeah.
type of stuff, but they're also engaging more often and hands-on much more often. I think when you train, and when people train with me or just train in martial arts in general, you naturally start being more alert
Yeah,
and avoid
sure.
things a lot more often than the average person would. So you tend to avoid the situation. It's kind of like someone asks me, well, how many fights have you been in? And I'll say, well, none, because I just avoid them because I see it coming. I grew up in bars, and when you fight, when you train martial arts or you train with fighters, you can start to see and read body language, and you just avoid it altogether, or you can just de-escalate the situation. Now, being not a small man, those things tend to happen less at the end of the day. So,
Intimidation
I
factor.
get that. Well, it's not just intimidation factor. It's just that when people size you up, who are they going to go after? At the end of the day, who's the easier target? But I think that's one of the beauties of the martial arts and training consistently is that you naturally start to avoid those situations, and you naturally start to see it coming more than you used to.
Now, do you train the girls any different, or do you mentor
No.
them differently than the men?
No, fighting's fighting.
Yeah, and
Fighting at the end of the day, a right cross is a right cross. Protecting yourself, covering your head from a punch, or understanding when somebody grabs you. Because in the street, there is no physics is physics. Okay, someone hitting you, somebody hitting you, and right, being a smaller person, obviously you may not be able to take as big of a blow as a larger person at the end of the day. But understanding how to put your hands up, understanding how to keep somebody in front of you, understanding how to protect yourself, that's agnostic of the sexes.
So it's really interesting. This next piece right here is talking about the apps. So, like, I know my family, we use this Life 360, and it comes in pretty handy for tracking everybody, sending messages to each other. It'll give alerts of like someone gets in a car accident or something like that. But there's these different apps here in the chat, just like, Be Safe, Noonlight, Circle of Six, all these different apps. You can screenshot this or you can come back and look at these. But these are the kind of apps where you can send fake text to yourself, or you can say a certain phrase and it will make your phone ring. You can say, oh, I got to take this call, and you can get up and leave.
Here's my thing on those. If you are doing that, you've already sensed something is wrong. Just leave.
Hopefully.
Just get up and leave.
Yeah, if they let you.
Well, but what's the text going to do?
Well, it's a phone call. So you can say, I have to go to the bathroom real quick and take this call.
Just get up and leave.
So
if they're going to let you go to the
advice,
bathroom. I guess my advice, I think these are great tools, but my point is,
you think they're crutches more than tools?
If you are at the point where something feels off and you're sending yourself a fake text, just get the hell out. Just leave. Just, hey, I don't feel comfortable. I need to go.
And now if they can't leave safely,
well, now you're in a different story. That text isn't going to do shit for you anyway.
Yeah. So the next thing would be,
call 911.
Well, the next thing would, if you can call 911.
If you can. So all these are great.
Yeah.
One, if you can get to it. Two, my point is you've already sensed something is off. So just leave and remove yourself from the situation. The Life 360 is cool. Your family can see where you're at, but can they get to you in time?
Yeah. I mean, there's always those what ifs, but I think it's, so in this situation, so I just want to make sure. So if a woman gets in a situation, maybe the guy's drinking too much or something, their dinner, and he starts saying certain things
just
or acting a certain way.
And leave.
Just say, excuse me, I'm heading home or whatever.
Say, hey, I'm good for the night. It's time for me to turn in. I got an early day. Or just, hey, I don't feel comfortable right now.
Yeah.
And leave. Like just remove yourself from the situation. The longer you stay there with a fake text or, oh, somebody's calling me or some kind of crap, you're just delaying being there. At the end of the day, trust your gut is what I'm saying. Like, trust your gut. Something told you this doesn't feel right. Something that person did is tipping you off to want to send yourself a fake text. Just leave. And I think it's easy for me to say that, right? Do you have the confidence to do it? But your gut's already telling you something's not right.
Yeah, I would say most of the women that I've met and known in my life would not feel comfortable just saying, hey, I don't feel comfortable with you, I'm heading out. Like,
or just, it's late, I got to turn in. Thanks for a great night.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
you come up
what
with something.
because what else are you gonna do? You're gonna play a fake text, you're gonna play a fake phone call, then what?
Or what a lot of people do is they just let the night continue because they're too scared to say anything.
And you're just delaying the inevitable,
Yeah.
right? So, okay, you go, excuse me, I got to take this call. Okay, now what are you going to do? Are you going to sneak out? Or are you going to come back to the table?
Guess it depends on the situation.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
Just leave. Just leave. And it's easier said than done, but it is really that easy at the end of the day. Like, hey, have your friend text you every hour on the hour, and then it's going bad, and you say, this is going really bad. Are you going to leave, or are you going to wait for your friend to show up, which might be an hour from now?
Yeah. I mean, this good things to think about.
Or do you leave
sure.
with the person?
Yeah.
Definitely don't leave with the person. So I think one of the biggest self-defense things is trust your gut. Like you sense when something's off.
But some people's guts aren't that good.
Well, but,
so we know from experience that not all people make good decisions or have good intuition. So that's their own. I mean, that's something you can't really help them with.
But then none of these apps are going to help you anyway.
Yeah, they're already screwed up getting to that situation.
Right. You're not gonna use any of these tools. So my whole point is I think these are great tools, but if you're at the point where you're using these things, you've already told yourself you shouldn't be there. Just get out of there. Just leave. Say, I got to go.
All right. So let's go ahead and go to the next section here. Red flags to spot. So obviously, controlling a jealous behavior, that should not be happening with someone you just met. But if this is someone you've been dating for a while, if they're, the obvious things, the waiter walks up and, he's smiling and whatever, and she's being overly friendly and talking to him a lot and that kind of stuff. We've all experienced something like that. But if he flips out about it, that's a huge red flag. That's a good time to leave.
And I would ask you to define, when you say flip out, what does that mean?
A lot of guys will wait till the guy leaves. He will say things, do things, look evil, start saying aggressive, angry things. Sometimes he will go grab her arm. Sometimes he'll snatch her phone. I've seen all this stuff happen, multiple times. So there's a lot of different signs, but typically it's going to be or just saying something.
Yeah, if that's a first date, that is definitely weird. Well, that's off in general.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody says, if I'm out on a date, and again, this is just me talking. If we're out on a date, hypothetically speaking,
now he said the intro was weird
based on your very white voice. I'm coming around to it. No, but if I'm on a date with somebody and that person's overly flirty, or what I feel is overly flirty or inappropriately flirty with that person, and I say, hey, that wasn't cool. I'm here trying to get to know you, and there you are, being flirty with, well, I was just being nice. I'm just letting you know that I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, to me, some people might view that as being aggressively jealous. The fact that I even said something.
I would say that's normal communication.
Well,
but now
that's relative.
But now if you take that same thing and you say, stop talking to the waiter, I'll address him, or something similar to that, that's different. That's aggressive because you're giving commands. In your case, you're actually having a normal conversation like a human being. Yeah. That'd be my thoughts on that. But I mean, yeah, I get it. There's a lot of variance. There's a lot of nuance. And that's kind of part of the issue.
But at that point, if I do something like that makes you uncomfortable, right? And it's that's a red flag for you. Okay, yeah. How many red flags do you wait for before you call it? So I think that's important for people to understand is what are your lines? What are your limits for you to call it a night and be like, okay, I'm over and done. I'm done with here. This has gone too far, because it might be one too many.
Yeah.
If you're not careful. So I would say, before you go out, especially on a first date or a blind date, have those lines drawn in the sand in your mind before you even go. Now, again, every situation is different. You can't be so hard that, oh, you crossed 3 lines, I'm out. And the person just did it honestly, didn't even realize what was happening.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, right? It's all relative. It has little to do with my intent and more to do with your perception, right? As far as lines drawn in the sand, what the red flags are. And those may change over time, as they go. But I think it's important before you go out somewhere, what's my drink limit? What's my time limit? How late I'm going to stay? What's my limit to when I feel uncomfortable with this person? And then when do I get out of there?
Yeah, those are definitely good things to have, like pre-planning, right? So you're pre-planning before, during, and after, and that's kind of some of the stuff we'll be talking about. But I think a lot of people don't do that. They're excited, like maybe they haven't dated in a while or something, and some guy shows them attention, and you're like, "Holy crap, I'm excited! I got to go on this date."
Well, you go in with optimism and you give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I get that, and you should. Like you go in assuming this is a nice person, assuming we're going to have a great time, assuming we're going to make a connection, and I think you should. I think everybody should go in with open eyes, but going with open eyes, right, and see it for what it is at the same time. Don't let the excitement of the night cloud your judgment or cloud the things you're seeing, right? Your gut says that was weird, but your eyes are going, but he looks so nice.
Yeah.
And then you just ignore it and keep going. Guys the same way too, right? Guys are probably more of a sucker for that than anything.
Certain guys. They get the pretty factor to get them in trouble. All right. So we talked about controlling jealous behavior. There's emotional manipulation. So especially like put downs, gaslighting, blaming you, victim playing, or if they just start off telling their entire life story and how sad and terrible and everything, that's another huge red flag. Obviously, any disrespect from anyone, period, whether you're dating them or not, that's something that you don't want to deal with. Inconsistencies or pressure. So if they're saying, they want, for example, they want to rush you to their house, right? So say initially they said, I want to go see a movie and I want to go to dinner. And you're like, okay, I agree to that. And then after dinner or at the end of dinner, they're like, okay, now we're going to go to my house. Like that's
rather than asking.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
That's the kind of stuff you have to really pay attention to. And if you're drinking, you might say, oh, okay. Like you might not really be thinking about it. And then all of a sudden you're in a situation. And again, this goes back to separate rides too. Like if you can drive yourself or having a ride arranged for you separate from them, then you're not dependent on them or forced into that situation.
Yeah. And to your point, I think drugs and alcohol are always an X factor in all of this.
Yeah.
Because it clouds your judgment.
Well, especially this is like the elephant in the room too, but if someone provides additional, I'm trying to think how YouTube wants me to say this. If people put
encouragement.
If people put things in your drink for you.
Sure. But that's a whole different level of.
Yeah. But it's common.
Devious behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. But unfortunately it's very common still. And maybe even more advanced because we're talking about our experience from when we were younger. I mean, who knows? It's been decades,
Right.
Let's see. And then
and I think all of these warning signs are valid.
Yeah.
But I also want to stress, if you see some of these warning signs, that doesn't necessarily mean that person wants to do you harm.
Correct.
Right. The whole venting and telling your life story. Some people just need to vent and they're finally in front of somebody that thinks that wants to listen. Even though I don't want to listen, but all right, you're finally got an ear and you're venting. And if you feel better about it at the end of the day, I don't necessarily think, oh my God, this person wants to do harm to me or wants to hog tie me and, do a Hannibal Lecter. But so I think with warning signs, they're just that. They're signs. You have to take everything into consideration and be paying attention to what else is going on, because what might appear to be a red flag may not be, now. This thing plus this plus that and then the situation, okay, all together I should probably leave.
Yeah, big picture.
Right.
All right, so now moving on to before the date. We talked about some of this, right? But research your date. A lot of people will use those sites that tell you if they're a felon or something like that. Now, am I saying that you should assume everyone's a felon or a bad character? No, but I have had friends and Kelly that you guys have seen on the show. Certain people have done these background checks and found out that they were child offenders, that they were, felons at multiple different levels doing these previous checks. Mm-hmm. So, and sometimes it costs money. So do I recommend doing this in every single case? Not necessarily, but might not be a bad idea. Obviously, share your plans. That's probably the most obvious thing. You're telling your friend, details, time, location, who the person is, expected time of arrival. And that's a lot of times how, like the woman, like you said, the hiking example, that happens, too often that a girl will say, oh, I'm going hiking with so-and-so. And then 3 days later, they send out a search team. Well, if the woman would say, well, we're supposed to return at midnight, then,
we're going on this trail.
Yeah.
We're leaving at this time.
Yeah. And maybe have GPS tracking on her or something similar. Like phones aren't good enough for that kind of stuff, but maybe a professional GPS tracker. And then obviously we talked about public locations. We talked about driving yourself. I still think this is huge. This is probably one of the biggest things, being able to leave whenever the hell you want. I think that's super important. And then phones, make sure you have a charge. I know a lot of people, um, I see people every day, halfway through the day, their phone's dead. And it's not because the phone sucks or the battery's terrible. It can be, but I think it's because you're on there, constantly on social media doing stuff you shouldn't be doing, rotting your brain, and then your phone's dead. But make sure you have that going. Now, what are your thoughts on like pepper spray and mace and stuff like that?
I think it falls in line with carrying a handgun. Like, they're great tools. Do you know how to use it?
I do.
How adept are you at using it? How proficient are you at using it?
Are you comfortable using it?
Are
Do you have the mental?
Are you comfortable
Yeah.
using it? Do you know when to use it? And then can you even get to it?
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of times I've done a self-defense seminar. And I'm not going to pick on the ladies, but the ladies are quick to do this. I'll do something and I'll pose a question, what would you do in this situation? And someone goes, well, I have a concealed carry. I go, great. Where is it right now? And there's dead silence.
Yeah.
What's in my purse? In my car? I go, great. And how much other shit is in your purse? Can you get to that firearm fast enough before I can get to you? Because I promise, if I get to you, you're not getting that gun out ever again.
Well, we did the video, the 21-foot rule. If
Right.
you guys haven't seen that on my channel, there's the 21-foot rule with Aaron. And we also had, was it Mike?
It was Mike Evans.
Yeah.
And he had the gun on his hip, knowing I'm coming for him, not fumbling through a purse, through all the other crap that women tend to have in their purse. And I say that clichély, but we know it's true. And then now you got duress, adrenaline, fear, speed of it all. I mean, violence happens fast and it's violent. And now you're fumbling through a purse trying to get this gun, and now you have to acquire and shoot me. Good luck. Well, if you even have it near you.
Well, if they go watch that video, your staff member, she actually tried to pull from her purse, and we gave her like 20 some different chances.
And she knew it was coming.
Yeah. And she had her hand on the gun already and everything. Well, no, she unzipped a few, right?
Right.
But if you go watch that video, it gives you a really good point of view of how horribly wrong things can go, even if you're expecting it and ready for it. So,
and now, I'll add to that, it's a perishable skill. So if you're not using that tool all the time, can you use it under duress? Two, when we practice with these things, like when we practice firearms, how we normally practice? On a static piece of paper.
And it's in a controlled environment.
In a controlled environment.
Yeah.
Under no duress, under no stress, under no confusion, under no fear, under nothing, on a static paper target that's not moving, not coming at me aggressively. So you could take it a step further, unless you've trained in that environment. And this is why our elite special operators in our military are so good, because they train so much in those scenarios and in those environments. The average person doesn't come anywhere near that. How often does the average person shoot a paper target? Once or twice a year, and they think, okay, I'm good. I got my concealed carry. I can defend myself. Good luck.
Yeah.
If anybody has pepper spray, have you ever shot that shit and got it in your own eyes?
Yeah.
Because everybody's getting it when that goes on. If you don't accidentally spray it in your own face. And then, is it a stream or is it a cloud? Is it a cloud? Now everybody's getting it.
Yeah.
Okay. And can you fumble around and get it unlocked fast enough? And can you get to your keys fast enough? Even a knife, we've done knife training. Can you get your knife out and deploy it quick enough? So I think these tools are fantastic. I have my daughter carries mace, and I even thought about getting her a pepper ball gun to have in her car, because you can
the burners.
You can carry that legally. It's not considered a concealed carry weapon. You can carry that legally as an underage woman. She can carry that. She knows how to use a firearm, but she's too young to carry an actual firearm. So she can carry one of those pepper ball guns. And but at the end of the day, if you're not practicing with these tools, it's just like any self-defense. I go back to what I said right from the beginning. If you're not practicing the skill set, it's perishable, right? And then if you're not practicing in different scenarios to how you're going to react and where can you get it, like, can you get to it while you're sitting? Can you get to it while you're standing? Like, we've all been sitting in a car. How quick can you get crap out of your pockets?
Yep. That's one of the,
you know what I mean?
Well, that's one of the main things in my life that pisses me off, is trying to get like a straight long
Anything.
knife out of my pocket or something. Yeah,
Right.
they need to figure that out.
Right. You're in your car and
Stretchy
and
pockets.
you do have a concealed carry, but where is it? Is it in a lockbox in the car? Is it in the center console? Do you have one of the magnet holders where it's within arm's reach? Most people don't have that. Most people just have it tucked away.
Well, you have
hidden.
the extremes, right? So you have the people that, like you said, they're like, I have a concealed carry. You're like, where is it? It's at home and they're safe, right?
Right.
And then you have the opposite extreme where they have a bathroom gun, they have a shower gun,
And one on them.
yeah, and one on them, and then they have like 3 in their car, So,
But even then, if you have one on you, how often do you practice drawing it? Because most ranges you can't draw.
But I mean, it depends on the person, right? Like someone like me, I train all that stuff all the time.
But
but most ranges, like you said,
you're an
do not
anomaly.
let you. Yeah,
Arguably weird, but most ranges you can't even practice drawing.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to. But even then, how often do you practice drawing with any type of proficiency, and then do it under? I mean, you can't really do it under a duress situation unless you got the laser shots or whatever they're called.
Well, you can do the timers. You can,
Yeah,
like train with the special forces guys and stuff like that up at like 88 tactical and things. But yeah, you're right. I mean, if you're not doing it on a regular basis, you don't have the muscle memory to be able to do that in a emergency situation. But I've seen people who have trained that way consistently and are badasses, like
still
who freeze when the thing happens,
still get caught off guard,
or they draw and the
guard.
gun goes flying, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if it happens, even the best of them, what are the odds that you're going to be use that tool with any type of proficiency? I'm not saying don't get them. It's just like all the apps. I'm not saying don't get these things and don't use them. But if you're going to get them, do just that. Practice with it. Use it. Understand how it works. Understand it inside and out. Use it with regularity.
And don't only depend on one thing. Don't think one thing is going to be the thing that's going to make you safe.
Because if you still put yourself in a bad situation, that tool likely won't help you.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from all of this. Like the whole conversation kind of boils down to that. If you put all your eggs in one basket, one way of protecting yourself or one way of being safe, like for some women, it's only a friend texting them once an hour or something like that, and nothing else. They don't pre-plan. They don't have their own vehicle. They drink because they want to have a good time, right?
Mm-hmm.
They came out to, like
they're a little nervous, so they have a drink or two to take the edge off.
Yeah. So it just kind of spirals away. And the only thing they had was their friend to text them or them to text their friend.
I think now too, in the modern age of dating, unlike
which is horrible.
But if you think about this though, it's probably safer, to be honest. And I'll say this, I always fear for my daughter, even my son, because they're on these apps and these kids will go meet people that they only know through the app. I was furious one time. My daughter went to meet a boy and didn't tell me. She told me she was going to a friend's house. And she went to meet a boy, and I lost it for that very reason. I don't know where you're at. I don't know who you're with. You don't really know this person
or his intentions,
right? And now you're off, wherever. Unlike when we were coming up in our 20s, you went out to a party, you went out to a bar or club. There was always alcohol involved, and that's how you met people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily the safest of situations, environments, right? Now, with everything being app oriented, the scary part there is you don't necessarily know who you're talking to, but you are talking to somebody usually longer now before you go and meet them, right? Like the blind date thing, like meeting somebody for the first time as you walk in the door. Usually, like now you can hey, let's.
Well, you can video call before.
You can video call before, which I think is very safe, and women should do a video call and smart. Like see if you're getting catfished for one, and two, and then it's like, hey, let's meet for coffee somewhere very public in a coffee shop to find out what this person's like. Now, I'm not saying this is infallible, but you're not showing up at dinner for the first time with alcohol involved, and this is the first time you ever met this person. So I think there's ability to research and get some intel prior to showing up, which I think is much, much safer than before. But again, nothing's infallible.
So to the chat really quick, if you've ever been on a date and you were trying to get away because the guy or girl was creepy or was giving off some vibes that you were not comfortable with, put a 1 in the chat. If you've never experienced that, put a 2. I'm guessing most of you would probably put a 1. I've definitely been there myself, where I met a woman who I thought was amazing and all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, I married her, but the date went amazing, right? Like too good. And to the point where you're like, is this manufactured? Like, are they a good actress? You
Well,
know,
I think everybody's acting on the first date.
I was pretty rough. I was myself, unfortunately.
Says you.
No, oh no, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Saying,
I mean, let's be honest. Every time especially guys tend to be on their best behavior the first time you're meeting a woman. Everybody's saying all the right things, doing all the right things.
I didn't, and she'll tell you that. Like if you ask her, she'll say he did this, he said that. You know, he made me because I took her on a motorcycle ride, and she wanted to dress all nice and stuff and look nice for me for the date. And I was like, no, I'll put on like a heavy sweater and all this other stuff. And she felt like she looked like an old woman and stuff. Like I was doing all the wrong things on that date. But I get what you're saying though. Yeah, typically you want to put your best feet forward. Typically people will lie about stuff. You know, they'll hide things. Like if they don't have a vehicle, they'll borrow their friend's car and act like it's theirs. And you know, there's all that kind of stuff that happens. But yeah, put your best feet forward. That's kind of what you expect.
Sure. And I would say, if in a comment you've been in a situation, what did you do?
Yeah.
How did you remove yourself, or did you remove yourself, or did you just ride it out?
Well, let's see. So Gina always says, I just say I have to go to the bathroom and leave. That's probably the most common one.
you just ghost the dude, just leave him there
With the bill.
do the Irish goodbye and just leave him there with the bill. Order lobster, eat, and then leave.
Let's see. Mary said, we never worried when we were young, and bigger and crazier the party, the better. Now I'm like, what the heck was I doing?
That's fair. And I was saying that earlier, you know, you went in, you know, the 80s, right? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. The bigger the party, the better, more fun it was. And then you wake up on the front lawn somewhere. It's like, how did I get here?
Let's see. Mary, she also said, I'm going to just bring them as my wingman. They can keep a low eye. Yeah. I mean, I know people that have done this too. If they're on a date with a new guy, they'll have like their brother or someone else also go to the restaurant and be like with his wife or whoever.
On the other side.
Yeah, keep an eye from across. I mean, I don't know if that's always feasible, but not a bad idea necessarily.
But I guess the odds of something bad happening at the restaurant are probably pretty low. It's when you leave with them.
Yeah.
You know, is when the trouble generally will happen. But again, trust your gut. If you're seeing those signs and signals during the meal, just, you know, make up your mind and call it a night.
No, I think you're probably one of the first people I've ever heard say, just get up and leave. Like not literally just get up and leave, but say, hey, you know, I'm done. I'm good. Like, you know, the night has run its course, or I'm tired, or whatever it may be. Right. Like this is my time's up that I had available. So I think it's interesting. I mean, it makes sense. I just find it
goes
very
back to how you play it. Like you don't want to be, I mean, if you don't want to be rude,
yeah,
finish out the meal, finish out the night, but just say, hey, I enjoyed the evening. Thanks for dinner. It's late. I'm going to go home and call it good. Now, if something's really freaking you out, like I'm sitting in front of a psycho right now. All right, maybe you might want to call it sooner than later.
Yeah.
Say, hey, I got to go. It's tough, right? It's tough. But again, at the end of the day, I'll say, who's responsible for you other than yourself?
Well, and then how much did you vet this person before you agreed to a date with them? That's another question too. Like you said, you know, you can do the video calls. You could, if you met them online, you can talk to them for a longer period of time to feel them out and see what they're looking for, what they want. But if you just met someone, like obviously this happens, people fall in love at first sight and that kind of stuff, you know. It might be one of those situations where, like, if you're in Jamaica and you're on vacation, you know, getting a tan like this guy right here, you might get the butterflies in your stomach and feel all romantic in the moment, and then before you know it, then you're off. Producers coming in, yeah. So I just touch on these last things here that I want to cover, and then we'll get back to just chatting. But so yeah, backup plan. So make sure you check in with whoever you may, you know, your parents, your best friend, or whatever it may be. You know, set boundaries. So I know I've been on dates with girls where immediately the second that we like met up or talked about a date, for whatever reason, she would say, hey, XYZ is or is not going to happen. Or she would say, we can go to dinner, but we can't drink alcohol or whatever. Like she would set these boundaries.
Cool.
And I'm like, cool. As long as it wasn't crazy, as long as it wasn't something, out of left field or something. But I think that's good. I think it's a good thing.
No, I think it's incredibly smart, and to me, it's just being transparent and genuine right off the bat, and actually, from a guy's perspective, that would put me at ease. Like, all right, cool, I know where everybody stands.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, good deal.
Well, and
we
the
know
other
where
thing
everybody
too,
stands, and it's all good, and let's just enjoy the evening, enjoy the meal, and I know that once we're done at the end
well,
of the day.
my biggest thing is that they can't call me Trigger Daddy until the second date. That's a nickname that I have on here now, and girls can't call me Trigger Daddy on the first date. I'm married anyway, but let's see.
But you're not going to say no if it happens.
I won't. Yeah. I'll just bask in it, put my cape on. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so this is the last part here of this page here. So this is during the date. So we talked about, staying alert, trust your instincts. That's huge. Keep communication open, maintain space. So that's another one. Like for example, if you're not comfortable with this person when you first go on a date with them, don't go to a movie. They're going to be 3 inches away from you.
And I go back to what we said in the beginning, understand your environment, know where you're at.
Yep.
It's okay to, sit across from them, not beside them. I'm a big fan. Like, I hate booths. Like, I hate sitting in a booth. I feel trapped. I feel trapped in the booth.
Even if you have your own side, even if you're across from each other?
Really? In the booth. I can't get out a booth fast enough. I will always pick a table that I can get up and move.
That makes sense
as fast
for you.
as I can.
Yeah, I can see
I don't
that.
like being in a booth. So if I was a woman on a first date, I would not sit in a booth.
It's interesting. I think a booth is where most people gravitate towards. It seems more romantic than a couple chairs.
Yeah, it feels more romantic.
Yeah.
It's more private.
Yeah.
And dumb shit can happen
More
in a
discreet.
booth.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. All right. So how to get out of an unsafe situation if things go south. Discreet excuses. Now, this is the stuff you were saying, like, maybe not. Right?
Why mess with it?
Yeah.
Like, why delay and give more time for bad things to happen?
And more alcohol to flow through and all that stuff. Yeah.
And don't forget, what you think is a discrete signal. Now, mind you, we're assuming that, all right, your gut's telling you this person's no good. All the signs are there that this person has an ulterior motive, and your discrete signals might be telling them something totally different.
Yeah.
So why bother? Just get up and get out at the end of the day. I think the longer you wait around, the more chance you have something bad happening.
I can see that.
Especially if you're not in public.
Yeah. It's just something I haven't heard people say. It's interesting to hear you say that, because most women I know would not feel comfortable doing that. But I think it's important that they learn to get comfortable doing that, because they could probably save, in a lot of situations, it could save them getting into a much worse situation in the evening.
I think it's no different than anywhere else. Like, speak up in the boardroom, speak up at work.
Yeah.
It's like, be emboldened and be empowered to look out for yourself and be responsible for yourself. It's like, okay, you want the promotion, say, I want the damn promotion. Don't kind of hint around and all this shit. If you don't like the person, say, listen, I'll work with you, but I don't necessarily like you. Like, it just kind of is what it is. At least everybody knows where you stand on stuff. And I think that's just for people in general. Like, the more transparent you are with what you're thinking, I think makes for better relationships all the way around. And the situation can resolve itself much, much faster.
So here we thought we were talking about martial arts and self-defense and dating, and now we're getting like real life advice from Aaron over here.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but
now everything here,
do with it what you will.
Yeah,
do with it what you will.
I'll always make decisions on your own. This is not legal or official advice or anything like that for the YouTube. All right. Let's see how to get out. So we talked about discreet excuses. Alert others, right? So if there's security at the bar, bartender, waitress, whatever it may be.
I think anybody at that point.
Yeah. Well, maybe. But yeah, I mean, hopefully someone will step up enough to help you out if you need help, and then create distance. Like this says, bathroom excuse, call 911, whatever, stay calm. But how calm are you going to be if you feel like you're in a dangerous situation? But you get the idea. Draw attention, get help if you can from someone else. And if you have the ability to say, I need to go to the restroom, and just walk out of the restaurant to your car, then do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go to the restroom, actually. I wouldn't actually go to the restroom.
Yeah, just bypass.
Because now you're cornering yourself, potentially.
Yeah. And then, crowds make lots of noise. You can actually yell help. Like, if you don't feel safe in that exact moment, you can make a big, make a big distraction to get people's attention.
And I would know your environment too.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, if you're in a city or a downtown environment and you get pulled into an alley and you're yelling to help, I would question how many people would actually go down to help you.
Oh, they're going to film you. They're not going to help you though.
Well,
that's modern
they'll just
society.
they'll just keep walking by and not even venture. Like there's a lot of bravado. People like, oh, if I hear somebody help, I would rush in and help. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. You would keep walking because you're scared to death yourself.
I think a lot of that comes from the Good Samaritans that have done stuff and had legal issues and stuff afterwards. Because
I think it's novel in concept. Like I would get in the military, we would get briefings all the time. We would get sexual harassment briefings. We get all kinds of briefings, and there's always, you got a bunch of military guys in the room, so the bravado is just obnoxiously through the roof. And there's always some dude be like, well, it's nothing a good right cross won't fix. I'm like, dude, you would piss your pants in a fight. And if somebody's in an alley and you hear one cry help, your pussy ass is not walking down that alley.
Yeah.
We're probably going to get bleeped for that. But my point is most people are too scared to go and help. They don't want to get in the situation. Or they might get hurt themselves, or they don't know what to do.
They don't have the capability.
They don't have the capability.
Yeah.
Like we novel in concept, right? There's been studies out there. Men especially think their ability to fight is always more grandiose in their head than in reality, right? That's a fact.
Yeah.
There's nothing disputing that. Okay, and now to think that now all of a sudden you're going to go running down an alley and throw caution to the wind because you hear somebody yell help, odds are that's not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying don't make a ruckus and don't draw attention. But I think at the end of the day, like, especially if you're at a restaurant, if you go to the wait staff, hey, I don't really feel comfortable with this person. Or you excuse yourself and go to the bathroom. I don't feel comfortable with the person I'm with. Can you help me out? Most will help you out.
And some of them have, situations set up for that. Well, they'll come out with a cake and sing happy birthday, make a big distraction and stuff like that. I mean, but obviously, like you said, you just take the steps you can to avoid that situation in the first place. And if you get into that situation, then don't be aggressive, but be very assertive that you're leaving and you're done.
Right. And I know, I'm not even willing to bet. I know, because I know several people that are servers. Servers pick up on this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Servers know when a date's going sideways or when it's going really well or like something's off here. And if you're a woman and you're in a situation, I promise you, if you've picking up on it, the server's also probably picking up on it in a lot of cases. Now, sometimes servers, the newer ones are very busy and they're just trying to sling drinks and get food on the table. But all the older servers I know will always tell you they can pick up on the vibe of the date and when something's weird or something's not right. So use that as a tool as well.
Let's see. Mr. Darcy says, scream as loud as you can as if if you're being attacked outside. Mary says, I learned to holler fire. That's actually it's actually pretty good.
I think to your point, though, we live in such a weird time. I think people just turn and look
all the time
and just turn their phones on
to
see what's happening. Like how often you see people breaking up fights anymore?
Or the girl that got stabbed on the train and people are
everybody just watches,
sitting there minding their own business.
So it's unfortunate that we are in a society like that where people would rather sit and watch than get involved.
Now, it's because they're desensitized because of the stuff that we consume? Or is it a fear, like you were saying before, like a fear to get involved?
I think it's a combination of things, right? I think it's a combination. I think that the idea of the Good Samaritan is challenged more and more because we're desensitized to things. We're consumers now. We'll just sit and watch rather than get involved. And then unfortunately, while it's not common, it's not uncommon that you do go get involved and then you get in trouble.
Yeah. Which is the biggest fear I think of most people is like say if a guy is attacking a woman and they attack the guy and then he presses charges, then they're going to jail or having civil issues or something that they didn't need in the first place.
And it's unfortunate, but I think that's the rare occasion.
Yeah.
But it does happen, and so I just think all those combined, people are less apt to get involved and to help out when needed. Right, on their own free will.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. All right. And then let's do after the date. So after the date, obviously send your text out. So if you had someone waiting on you, make sure that you let them know you're safe. Again, if you use those apps, that's another avenue you can use. And then go over red flags.
I would also say this too. If you leave that date with a weird feeling, do not drive directly home. Because you don't know if that person's following you or if that person's watching where you live. I would not drive directly home. I would text a friend saying, "Hey, I just left a date. I got a weird vibe from this guy. I'm coming to your house."
But then you're taking them to your friend's
Well,
house.
maybe so. But
so basically,
or meet me at a public place.
Yeah.
Meet me out for a drink,
or just drive
whatever it
around for a
is.
little while.
Or just drive around for a little while to make sure you're not. I'm not saying you should think everybody's following you, but like if we're talking about if you're leaving with a weird vibe, now if you're leaving just like I'm not attracted to the person, I'm never going to go out again. That's different.
Yeah.
Right. You're leaving on good terms. You just have no intention to go back out again. But if you're leaving with a vibe where like this was weird, I don't feel I got a weird vibe from this person, I wouldn't drive directly home.
Well, and to add to that too, never promise the next date. Right. That's the thing that happens a lot. Like they'll be in the date. The date might be good. It might be bad.
Doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah, but don't even like give the hope or the idea. You're feeding the stalker. You're feeding the stalker.
Sure,
right.
That's fair. That's fair.
Don't give the stalker food. All right. And then obviously, if there's any crazy things that happened, like if you felt like you were assaulted, or obviously if rape or something like that happens, then report it. Like call 911 or whatever it is in your area, and make sure you let someone know that happened, because there's a lot of cases people never bring it up. It 100%. Happened. They feel ashamed. Maybe they did drink a little bit, right? Maybe they did wear a short skirt or whatever. It's not their fault, right? But they start that stuff that society always talks about. You're like, holy crap, it was my fault. If I say something about it, that'll make me look stupid too. So I'm just gonna keep it inside forever.
Sure. I mean, that's fair. I mean, fault and guilt, I get those emotions. I get those feelings. I think it's the thing to distinguish between is, yes, I maybe contributed to the situation, but it's not my fault.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make it okay that something happened. Yes, I drank too much. I need to acknowledge that. So not to do that in the future. Yes, I put myself in a bad spot. I'm not going to do that in the future, but that doesn't make it okay for something bad to happen.
Well, and we want to preface all this too, that there will be terrible dates. So like we're sitting, we're talking about
not
all these,
just on Valentine's.
Yeah, just anytime, right? So we talk about all these red flags and all these different things that can happen and how horrible it can be and what to look for. But you're going to have some really shitty dates. It's going to happen. You might have some amazing ones. You're going to have some that are terrible. I have some really, really good terrible dates and date stories, but I won't.
It's just like I tell my daughter, right? And she'll be like, "Dad, stop, leave me alone." But I'll be like, "Is he keeping his hands to himself? Does he have good manners?
Yeah.
Is he respecting your boundaries? Are you letting him know your boundaries?" She's like, "Leave me alone, leave me alone." But I'm at least saying those things to her, so she's hopefully thinking about them.
Put it in her mind,
when she's out. And I'm telling my son too. Like I'll be like, "Hey, you be respectful. You respect her boundaries. You don't assume anything at the end of the day as well."
Yeah. Now, so that's an interesting angle too. So is it different between your daughter and your son, the dating advice and the warnings and things like that you give them?
I think we're fools to think that it's not different for guys and girls. But what I say to my son is different than what I say to my daughter. I'm telling my daughter to be careful, to be mindful of where she's at and who she's around, set boundaries. Don't let them take advantage of you. If something feels uncomfortable, speak up. Mind you, I'm telling my son, don't be that guy, right? Like, don't be that person.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm coming at it from two different angles. Now, at the same time, like, and this is being very cliche, you just don't assume a boy is going to get taken advantage of like a girl will, right? A boy's not going to get overpowered by the smaller girl.
Well,
I'm not saying
are we
doesn't
talking about
happen. I'm not saying
are we talking
doesn't
about
happen.
modern soy boys? Or are we talking about actual boys who have testosterone?
That just got us canceled right there.
Yeah,
or got
right
you
there.
canceled anyway.
I'm fine with that on that.
No, but I think it's real. I think that the messaging is different to boys and girls.
Yeah.
Just like in a self-defense situation, like the messaging is different, but I'm still telling everybody, be mindful where you're at. Don't do dumb stuff. Don't put yourself in bad situations. That's agnostic of who you are.
This also applies to like same sex and LGBTQ relationships as well.
100%.
So this is not a heterosexual only thing. Don't be overly comfortable with someone because you're a woman and you happen to like women and you're going on a date with a woman.
And mind you, this is all the context of this is a first date.
Yeah.
Somebody
Don't know the
new.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't been dating for 8 months. Like, that's a different scenario. Not that you shouldn't call out red flags for what they are, but obviously you're at a point where there's a high level of trust. Your guard is going to be down. You're in a different situation at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the point of all this is if you're going out tonight and you're going on a date, even if it's with someone that you've, spent time with for a while, just keep this stuff in your head. I mean, don't be so paranoid and crazy about it that you don't have a good time. But if it's a good time you weren't planning on that you're forced into, then make sure you speak up and say something and look for red flags and get out of there as soon as you can. Are there any like final words that you would leave people with just in general with situational awareness and being aware of the surroundings?
I would just say keep your head up. We are so tech dependent right now. You see it all the time. People walking literally with their head down, their head in their phone, earphones on, oblivious to what's going on around them in the world. When people jog, headphones are on, not hearing or paying attention.
Noise
to anything.
cancellation turned on.
So our awareness, technology is inhibiting our awareness 100%. So I always say head up, head on a swivel. Okay, if I'm out and about, my head's up, head's on a swivel, especially if I'm around people I don't know that well in a place I don't know that well, right? Get your head out of your phone, get your eyes up, pay attention to what's around you, right? Get the headphones out of your ears. I used to joke with the kids when I taught at UNO, at the business college, I would say, listen, business is 100% relationship dependent, right? You don't have to have the best product. People are going to buy who they trust.
It's a relationship.
It's all relationship based. And I said, you guys walk around this campus with your head down, headphones on, basically telling everybody, don't talk to me.
Yeah.
And someone comes up and says hi to you and you freak out.
Yeah.
Okay. Like the social. So not only has technology eroded our social skills, I am 100% dead set that yes, our social skills, especially the younger generation, they're social Godzillas. They don't know how to act around people. They don't know how to hold conversations, but they're so ingrained. They're oblivious to what's going on around them. And we're no different, right? You see plenty of older people just boom, head down. Not even like when you're somewhere, like look at a typical restaurant. Do you see people talking to each other as much anymore?
Phones on
No,
the table.
everybody's are looking in their phone. They're not even aware what's going on around them in the restaurant, right? Because the technology has made us so unaware of what's going on. Like we're more aware of the garbage going on in the world, right? Which we don't even know if that's real coming through the phone, right? But we're just so oblivious to what's happening immediately around us. And to me, that's dangerous. And that's what'll get you in trouble, especially, when I talk to women like, hey, when you run, I have my headphones on and I go, you're not paying attention to anything. Or I run at night with my headphones on. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, well, you might as well just say, mug me, put a sign that says mug me while you're running. Because you're never going to see it or hear it coming at the end of the day. So I think that's, to me, it's like, just get your eyes up.
Well, and like you said too earlier, even if you are trained in martial arts, even if you have a firearm and concealed carry, even if you have pepper spray, that doesn't mean it's going to protect you or have the effect that you thought it would.
If you get caught off guard, I tell people all the time, and they're like, dude, that's really morbid. But I always say, like, if somebody wants to kill you, they will.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to stop it because you'll never see it coming.
Yeah.
Right. Now you try to do things to mitigate stuff like that. And that's an extreme, right? Let me just put that out there. That's an extreme, but
it's still reality.
But if somebody wants to hurt you, right, and they catch you off guard, it is what it is. Like, that's tough to combat. I wanted to go back, you showed all those tools like pepper spray and all those things. When I do self-defense seminars, women will say, hey, what's the best home defense weapon? You know what I tell them?
A dog?
100%.
Yeah.
100% a dog. Well, I don't like dogs. Like, well, then you don't like home defense.
Big dog, by the way.
Any dog, because dogs will make noise. And most intruders don't want any noise. They don't want anything drawing attention. But get a dog. Ladies, if you live alone and you're worried about home defense and you're worried about running by yourself, get a dog and get one of the bully breeds. I promise you, a stalker or a would-be mugger or would-be rapist will think twice if you got a Doberman beside you or a Rottweiler or even a big lab or a German Shepherd. That's just, it is what it is. And dogs will alert themselves. They'll alert you to anything going on. A dog will bark. Again, it's no different than screaming and yelling to draw attention. A dog draws attention. And that person knows, I might have to go through this dog if I really want to get to her or get to him. And most people aren't going to want to take that risk.
Yeah. All right, awesome. So what we'll do is we'll look at a couple of comments and a few questions. And then obviously we appreciate you being here, taking time out of your busy day to
it's fun, man.
Come hang out with us.
I realized I was the first episode in the new setup, the new studio.
Yeah.
I'd have done my hair or something. You promised me there was going to be hair and makeup.
But I said they couldn't work miracles either.
That's fair. There's not enough spackle to patch all the holes.
All right, Kimberly, I think she just said she had to leave, but thanks for the super chat. This is a must-see for young ladies and men, older too. Scary world, and we must protect our people. So thank you, gentlemen. Always on the lookout every day.
Her handle is Lady Hawk.
It's Kimberly Hawkins, Lady Hawk.
Is she like out of Marvel? That sounds like a Marvel.
It might be. She's one of my moderators. She keeps justice in the comments.
And by moderator, like she moderates.
Yes, the chat and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Let's see.
How does one get a moderator?
Well, very carefully. So you want to just like when you go on a date, it's like your moderators is like you're going to date them. You have to treat them the same way. You have to make sure they're trustworthy. You have to watch them, look for red flags and that kind of stuff. Because I've seen moderators can completely trash your channel because they can.
So she will allow certain chats to come through and flag certain others and block others. Is that what you mean by moderating?
Yeah. So if someone's just being blatantly rude and disrespectful in the chat, she can give them a warning, and then she can either.
She does it for $9.99.
No. That's a super chat. So the super chats is yeah.
I just saw it up there, so I was wondering.
Yeah. She pays me to moderate. No. But and obviously we love the moderators. They're all doing a great job. But some big channels have 30 or 40 different moderators. It's crazy.
I did not realize that was an actual profession.
It's most 99% of the time it's volunteer.
Oh,
they do it because they support your community.
Nice.
And that kind of stuff. So a lot of times it's just people that believe in what you're doing.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Let's see. Ivalgsy. I know what it is, but how does one teach street smarts?
Wow. That's tough. That's because one, what is street smarts? Two, everybody has different experiences out there, and we'll give you a different impression of what street smart is. So what I would say is, a lot of things we talked about would be considered being street smart. Just being aware of what's going around you, just common sense things. Pull from your experiences, pull from experiences from other people. People have been there, done that. Find chat rooms where people have experienced bad dates or have been attacked and learn from those. And that just creates your street smart awareness of what's going on as well. I mean, street smart's relative. You talk to somebody who lives in inner city Detroit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, inner city Detroit versus suburban West O. Street smarts are totally different. But to me, street smarts, it boils down to just like common sense and keeping your head up and just recognizing things before they happen.
I think of it like survival instinct.
Yeah. I mean, that's listen to your gut. The more experiences you have. I mean, you could say somebody who's been in a gang is more street smart than somebody that hasn't, right? But there's context involved there, and there's environment involved there.
Well, I mean, street smarts could be as simple as you're in high school and you're going to go with your friends, and one of them has a license, but they're drinking. So when they come to pick you up, you can smell alcohol in their breath and they're drunk.
Yeah,
a street smart person would not get in the vehicle.
Sure, he'd be like, no, this is dumb.
Yeah.
Right. And again, it's just making that call, right? Just recognizing it and just making that call and acting on it. I think street smart is not just recognizing it, but then acting as well. That's what makes you street smart.
Agreed.
Are you supposed to kiss on the first date? I'm not touching that.
Let's see. Audrey Hayes, very nice studio. Yay. Glad I'm past celebrating with strangers, but still good advice. I live in a small town, so I feel safe. Now, that's another thing, because we've seen some of these crimes and things that have been happening, like with Guthrie and that kind of stuff. Nancy Guthrie in this safe neighborhood that she get, that
Well, I grew up
everybody's
in a
talking
small
about.
town too, and I'll equate the small town to letting your guard down, because you're around people you trust, so you assume. I'm like, I grew up in a town where everybody left their front door open,
Yeah. Didn't
or
even lock
people
it.
just come
Yeah.
into the side door and you just knock twice and walk in. So I would say, yeah, that's awesome. I miss small town living. I wish my kids grew up in a small town, because there's something unique about that. Because there is a high level of trust, like she's saying, and you naturally do feel safe, right? And everything's good until it's not, at the end of the day, right? So I would say, yes, it's great, but be careful letting your guard down. You don't need to walk around paranoid all the time, but you think you know somebody until you don't. Everybody has bad days. Everybody, quote unquote, goes postal, a term from when I was growing up, going postal because somebody just finally had enough and was fed up, and you just happen to be in the crossfire.
Well, and some people target rural areas because they're more remote.
Because they're more remote. And then, new people move into the neighborhood all the time.
Yep.
At the end of the day.
All right. So because you were giving dating advice earlier, unofficially, right? This is unofficial advice. Are we supposed to kiss on the first date?
I read that one.
Saying, I know.
Yeah, I'm not. You answer that.
You're not going to answer that?
No, I'm not answering that.
So I think the first date kiss thing is all based on chemistry and how comfortable you feel. But if you kiss them, it's just like promising a second date type of thing, right? You're leading them on. So you have to make that decision. Am I okay leading them on in this situation?
So I would say, going back to know your limits, draw those lines in the sand and stick to them.
Yeah. And don't let them charm you into getting that first kiss, Mary.
The snake charmer.
Yeah. Let's see. Maggie says, women can be predators too. Look at Erica Kirk.
Oh my gosh.
So I have definitely known and been on dates with and been semi-manipulated by women who were predators. So I can definitely relate to that. And I was in the modeling industry when I was younger. So that's a whole different story. And
one that should be kept quiet.
Well, no, I wasn't one of the people that got to the point where I went that far. But I saw it early and I pointed it out to the modeling agency and they ended up firing that woman. But yeah, women are definitely predators.
No,
too.
it goes both ways. Yeah. And I think we're naive to think it doesn't. It's like saying, well, men never get raped. That's not true at all. Men get raped by women all the time. It's not something we commonly talk about, but it definitely goes both ways. And I think, safety is safety for everybody, like we talked about.
Let's see. We love happy Valentine's Days. Trust your gut. Love the studio. Bubble Scooper says, Bubble Scooper. What kind of bubbles are you scooping? That's an interesting name. Studio looks great. I really appreciate your content today, Trigger. Happy Valentine's to you and your wife. And happy Valentine's Day to everyone. And I think this was a good first test for the studio. There's a lot of stuff going on. Like I said, I'll show you guys behind the scenes. Probably, maybe this weekend I'll do a quick video, but there's multiple cameras, multiple lights. It's automated. So when you see it switch between Aaron and I, that's all done automatically. No, I'm not doing that. No one else is doing that. We have a couple of monitors in front of us so we can see those screens on like a big screen TV. I mean, it's pretty slick. It turned out, I think it looks great, but it's also very functional so far.
Yeah, it's nice. I was surprised when I walked in. When you said you built out a studio, this is not what I was picturing.
Yeah. Well, and
it's nice.
Yeah, there's other creators that have been like, man, because I sent them some pictures, like, what do you think about this? And they're like, now they want to redo theirs or build one their own. But yeah, definitely turned out well.
And I think what's nice is it takes up minimal space.
Yeah,
you could do this in an apartment.
Yeah,
pretty easily. You could definitely do this. Like if you had a bedroom you're not using, you could easily pull this off.
Yeah, small office. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. So I think what we'll do is you've given us your time. You've been very gracious. Everyone going out, just make sure you guys have a good time. Be safe. And if you want to get a hold of Aaron, he is at midamericamartialarts.com. That's for the martial arts and the personal training and stuff. Do you still do the nutritional work and the personal training?
We do 100% with everybody if they want it. It's kind of one of those things that we use. And
they don't have to physically be here with you. You can do like remote sessions and that kind of stuff, right?
we can absolutely, for sure.
Okay. So yeah, so if you want to reach out to Aaron for any of his training or nutritional stuff, and obviously if you're in town and want to train, make sure you guys stop in. But definitely appreciate you being here, and we'll have to do this again. But maybe we'll do some other topics.
There we go. We could do that.
And they probably won't be YouTube safe, but we'll do
something
them anyway.
A little saucier, right?
But everyone, we appreciate you being here, and we will see